doen als voorbereiding of springplank nog gedaan, april?
Ja, het is gewoon een doorlopend voorbereidingsproces.
Dat je een voormaat bespreken is voor de Engels.
Goed, hallo. Happy? Weather?
Like
Spanish weather?
well, actually, it's raining a lot. It's raining, so I'm used to it.
About your shape?
I'm okay. I'm good form.
Centrum van de blootstelling. Voor mij is het gewoon die steken. Ja. Oh, dit hier is echt. Had hij metgenomen? Aanklappen. Nee, die wel.
Hey, jetzt machst du da noch mit Frau?
Dat is die Navi daar.
Mooi kom je nou weer. Dan moet dat pas op. Ja.
Zie je?
Zet ik al bij? Als we nou gewoon vertrekken. Trek jij een foto?
The riders now coming off a very cold winter where they've had to go to warmer climes to do their training. And Peter van Petegem there chatting away, former winner of the event, with some of the riders. Eric Zabel also, he coaches Mark Cavendish, by the way.
Kevin Hulsman's down there for Team Quickstep. This is the start of the season.
Stuur ze op pad met een bemoedigend applaus. De 200 rijders, verdeeld over 25 ploegen, verlaten het Sint-Pietersplein, laten het centrum van Gent achter zich en buiten straks natuurlijk de Vlaamse Ardennen in voor deze omloop het Nieuwsblad. En u mag zich gerust laten horen met een aanmoedigingsapplaus voor onze renners, dames en heren. Ze zijn eraan begonnen. 204,4 kilometer is de officiële totale lengte. En we zijn uitermate benieuwd wie Thor Hushoofd straks opvolgt op het palmares van deze wedstrijd.
Cyril Lemoine zijn, dat klopt. En dan hebben we hier vooraan de vluchters nog. Er zijn op dit moment 3 tegenaanvallers. Dat zijn Habo.
Daar zit hij. Hier zit hij, pas op hè.
Ah, je ziet de Overland, Johnny Overland.
Op kant hè.
8 minuten 20.
Iedereen is hier.
Wij waren niet nog veel nog tegen de façade.
Allee, jongens, allee, hey.
Dat mag niet. Boucheken.
Ah, Boucheken.
Ja, ze zijn dat, hè.
Dat is kijk, dat komt er niet. Nog wel. Katoen van Italië, Pozzato.
Is dat?
Die van ons hier. Tegen
Die Bert is hier. Allee Bert! Allee Bert! Allee Koen!
En pas na 10 kilometer is iemand weggeraakt en dat was deze Veugelen. Hij is de aanstoker en hij kreeg dan Guédon mee. Dat is een man waar Jo Plankaart 's nachts nog badend in het zweet van wakker wordt. De winnaar van Parijs-Roubaix, 97 voor Plankaart. Dan hebben we daar curvers van Skill en de man helemaal vooraan is Roger Kluge. Kluge van Milram. Jonge Duitser, snelle Duitser, goede coureur.
Oh ja, dat is dit dan. Papa, kom maar. Ja, zijn er.
Hey!
Simmer.
Ausler. Huh? Ausler.
Waar is toch een kwetsbaar, hè?
I think it's down to 3 and still at 4 riders. Here they are now, we're catching up with them. I gave you the names earlier. Guédon is sat at the back just for the moment. Kluge in the light blue, slipping away from the left of the action. And second line is Verschulen. And setting the pace at the moment, Roy Curvers. They got away after 10 kilometres. There was a sort of a spirited chase by 3 riders, Johnny Hogeland, Gregory Habo from the local team, Verdanus, and David Boucher, but they gave up in the end under the impetus of the break. And now more or less all back together at 5:36. Still time to put it to rights.
Well, this is the climb of the Pottelberg. It's an average 7.5%, not very steep, but you can see how narrow this road is, and that's why sometimes it's an advantage to be in a breakaway in these early season races, because otherwise it's total chaos in the main field behind. That's Guédon on the left-hand side, a former winner, as you mentioned, Phil, of Paris Tours, but I think it was the win that he had in Paris-Roubaix a number of years ago.
zat in de ploegen.
Hè?
Ploegen, is jong gast, hè, nog?
Ja,
We gaan John heel veel Joris.
Our ride, coming off the winter we've had in Europe, the coldest winter for over 30 years in Great Britain. I can testify to that, but basically I was lucky enough to escape to Australia and the Tour Down Under.
Roy Curvers on the front here now for Skill Shimano, a team that was very aggressive in the Tour de France last year, and that's probably one of the reasons why they're looking to these races to get their name to prominence again, because they'll be looking for another wildcard selection into the Tour de France, a wildcard selection list which should come out in about a month's time.
Yes, and last year Skill Shimano went to their first Tour de France and rode pretty well. They tried to get in most of the moves, just to let the organisers know they were capable of competing in that 3-week event. Roy Curvers is the representative up front today in the early morning breakaway. Blimey, we got away to such an early morning attack after 10 kilometres. They've been out here all day.
Now, these guys are seriously hoping to get themselves some television time, but they've still got a good 71 kilometres to go to the finish, and the main field hasn't really started to really grind it down. They will, I think, start to organise the chase a little later on. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure on Farmer Lotto, the squad, the Belgian squad, which has to come up with some results. They're regarded as the flagship, but they've always got this big rivalry with Team Quickstep.
And without Cadell Evans, is McEwen to do that? His best was a silver. No chance to dodge a car. That's a shame. Well, it was off the road, I guess, but this is HTC Columbia on the road, and a little bit of a sting in the ribs, I think.
No, he went down very hard there. Another rider in that little crash there with the BMC Racing was John Murphy, and he's just up there on the left-hand side of the road.
Well, check the wheels first, have a little look at this. It's where the car is. So
it's the new young American, actually, TJ Van Garderen, who went down there. He's learning the ropes very early on in these races.
Well, he's a good prospect. They've just taken him on board, and he is a very, very good rider. Second in the Tour de l'Avenir. So that's why they've signed him on. He's a stage racer more than a rider of a one-day, at the moment anyway, as a one-day rider.
Big problem you see on these very narrow roads in Belgium, you have to wait for
the crossing. So they did lose a little bit. Anyway, on to the Pottelberg. These are the hills now, and they come thick and fast now as we're down into the deepest Flanders region. And this is what I think the field are waiting for. They'll start to steadily now close down this breakaway.
Interesting to note, Sky right at the very front end of the main field. They've got a big chance with Juan Antonio Flecha, and the whole team, I think, are dedicated to him. It's quite a rare man, the Spanish rider from the northern part of Spain. He loves racing in these cobble classics, which normally is something that the Spanish riders do not.
Number one team in Belgium, but need some good results this year to maintain that slot. I think the white jersey of the Russian champion, he's won that title 6 times, Sergei Ivanov in the red shorts there. Garmin, he could be a danger, Paul.
He could be. He likes these kind of races. Garmin transitions over on the right-hand side as well with the orange shoulders. They'll be looking after their man Tyler Farah, who's got a very good sprint, and he's already had a fair amount of success this season, but he would too like to try and see whether or not he can rival the classic teams.
Yes, from Chipotle to Slipstream, and this year it's Garmin Transitions that will make the headway through the big tours. They're still... target, of course, and Sky saying they want a British winner of the Tour within 5 years. That's a big target, and they haven't got the riders they actually wanted in the team yet, because a lot of them are still under contract, but they did manage to pinch a couple. Ben Swift was another one from Katusha. They were also unhappy at the headhunting that went on, but Sky now are in the frame as a top team, and I'm saying that, Paul, without them winning much at all just yet.
20 minutes.
There's a nasty bit of dust blowing around out there now, which is very typical of Belgium cycling and leads to horrible little eye problems like conjunctivitis from these dust storms that swirl around. Mud in the eye. I remember when I lived in Belgium, that was a common complaint with the cyclists, with all the dirt flying off these roads.
Sam Bewley sitting at the back here for Radio Shack. This
not showing any signs of... Oh, this is bad news. That is a shame, as the gates have come down. Not sure where we are now. At the back of the race, I think we might be. We wouldn't have cut off just a couple. This could be the second group we've never seen.
Well, I'll get a chance to see here. The barrier, the lights are just actually coming on.
They're actually on. Now, the police have allowed the peloton to come through, but I think they stopped the cars because they can't take the risk of the train appearing. And those guys were in the convoy coming back to the peloton. They've got stopped. Now, that's bad luck. Squad.
Yeah, and this is the chaos at the back. These guys will never see Nieuwsblad again this year anyway.
No, chance to have a chat with everybody else. They were unlucky because the police... saw the red lights come on.
It's down to 3 men. These riders now are going to try to...
road.
It's a long way. They've probably lost themselves a good 2.5 minutes, so I don't think they'll be seeing the main field again this afternoon.
Here we are, down to 3 riders now. The cracks are developing in the seams. The one man they've dropped is a really good youngster for the few. Another railroad crossing safely negotiated. Peloton is still pretty big. Full length of cars, 1 or 2 riders in the convoy at the moment, trying to repair the damage from flat tyres. There's plenty of those in Belgium at this time of the year, that's for sure.
Yeah, but it's a lot more organised at the front end of the peloton now. The fact that the main field is stretching out into that big long line is an indication that the serious part of this bike race is about to unfold. A lot of riders from Radio Shack at the front there in the red. It'll be interesting to see how BMC perform as well, because... Ooh, a nasty little piece of road there.
Meanwhile, back with the leaders, gently coming off that piece of road onto the concrete slabs at 2 minutes just. Heading on to the Tyenberg now. This is a well-known climb in all of these one-day classic races. The boys know it well.
The Tyenberg is about as steep as the Koppenberg. It's a very short climb, but at the start of the season, these guys are going to have a very difficult time getting up this bike race, up this climb. You can see they're trying to... use the gutter down towards the side. At this time of the year, those cobblestones are very, very slimy and greasy, and if you just start to lose out a little bit... Here's Roger Klug about to get caught. First time he's had company for about 20 kilometres.
A lot more than that. Yes, if we count the leaders. That's right. This is
Nick Noyens.
Nick Noyens here in trouble. That's a shame. 2-time winner of this race. A 1-time winner, rather. He's had a second place. Oh, he's not very happy, is he?
Yeah, well, Langeveld there, number 62, is trying to help him get that back wheel in, but that was a very slow change. And you see the reason that there was no team cars behind is that a lot of riders have been dropped, and the team cars by the referees have been held behind those dropped riders. So that's why those 2 riders had to stay. That's what, well, I think they're wrong, actually.
Good lad. I'm a light conference. Well done. Yes, back to the leaders, 3 of them. Still coming up on the smooth channel there towards the top of the Tyenberg. And it is Guédon, who once surprised everybody when he won Paris-Roubaix. And when we were getting over that, he nipped out and he won Paris Tour. A few years apart.
Just a couple of years ago, he was 36 years of age when he won Paris Tours, and that was a big surprise victory. In fact, he used all of his tactical knowledge of a seasoned professional to outwit the guy that he was with to come up to the finish line.
Glorious day in Tour it was that day. Beautiful end of summer day. Ooh, that was a bit risky going through. I think that's mud on the corner, isn't it?
It certainly is. A lot of riders are prepared to take the risk going around there just to try and move up 2 or 3 places now. Tom Boonen coming up to the front.
That's a good reason to try and take note, because this is a big, typical, heavy, strong move by Tom Boonen. Look at this now. He's decided he needs somebody to come and join him here as he goes clear on the Tyenberg. This is Boonen at his best.
He loves cobbled climbs. He loves these short, explosive efforts on these races in Belgium. And he was with Kinziato there from Liquigas.
Briefly.
But only briefly. Tom has got a great amount of support here in Belgium. And I think he's got his head back together again. You know, it's very difficult.
Come on, Tom! Come on, son. Come on.
Then you are an A-class celebrity, because this is their #1 sport.
No, he certainly is. He looks great in that Belgian national champs jersey. Let's not forget a former world champion as well. Goes round that corner as if it was a flat piece of road. He was hoping, I think, Phil, to splinter a small group off the front, but nobody could actually follow his acceleration. And look what sort of a gap he's got in 500 metres.
But it was a bit vicious, let's face it. Now he's going to see what damage there is. He's not trying to solo all the way 51 kilometres up to the break and win the race, that's for sure. But has he managed to cause a few cracks in the peloton that might develop into, say, 20-30 riders going forward only, which would be much more manageable? If you can do that on the Mur de Grammont next time through, that'll be a welcome attack. Now, reforming at the front, but behind Bonen.
Yeah, everybody's looking around. Okay, who's going to do the pacemaking now? But at the moment, they realise they're still looking at a good 51 kilometres to go to the finish. They don't think that yet is quite the tactical point. Of course, Philippe Gilbert does. He'll go for any kind of move if he can get an acceleration off the front. He is an attentive bike rider. That's Gilbert in second position there with his teammate up alongside him. And they actually have got a slight gap. I think Flecha's in there as well.
Well, this might be the split that Tom has been tempting away, because they've got it going here, and the Omega boys are willing to help this attack. Look at the daylight forming behind, and note the distance, exactly 50 kilometres to go. I presume Bonen is still away around that corner, and that is very much a little group which he would love to see.
Yeah, well, this is a nice move. 3 riders in there from Rabobank. You saw they were very attentive a little earlier. Look at these roads. These are very technical roads. There's Tom Bonen just around the corner.
Yes, and I wonder if he knows the damage he's done, exactly what he planned to do here. The colours of the champion of Belgium flying away. 1:30 the gap. Very soon the trio in front will be spotted. Desperate moments here from about 13 riders, led by the new name, always changing the name, the Lotto team. It's Omega Pharmacy right now. And I think that's Leif Hoster up there with him, you know. It's either him or I tell you who it is. It's Jürgen Roland setting the pace.
That's right, it is Jürgen Roland. But you know what? The main field are clawing their way back. They haven't actually formed that group off the front end. Everybody was attentive, and they're hoping to make the junction with that man there, the champion of Belgium, Tom Bonen. The gap to the 3 leaders now, just a minute and a half, as we start to get to the more tactical point of this race.
It's a good move by Bonen, and it might be shaping the chase here. It certainly had an effect on that leading trio. We're still at 50 kilometres to go. I think. Oh, there we are. Thought we'd stuck for a moment. 49 now, but still the big climbs to come.
Well, Bonen, you see, he's quite happy to just keep the tempo, to keep that little gap hoping that the small group is going to come up to him and be the first decisive move in this year's Het Nieuwsblad race.
I think it augurs well for Tom's early season campaign. This is a strong move by a man who's finding his form. He's had a good stretch in Qatar, and he'll be looking to do well in the Tour of Flanders and of course in Paris-Roubaix. All the races he's done well in public. Big sport. And everybody pays to watch, which means that the riders get well paid to participate. At least the big names do, and Philippe Gilbert's got himself up in this little group now. Reassessment, but Gilbert is a cunning bike rider. He was the first up to reach Tom Bowling. Keep an eye on his Hausler as well, is it?
Yes, it is. This is a good-looking group now. Now, this is a group which has got some good names in, the kind of group that could work extremely well together, but they haven't got that big a gap over the front end of the main field yet.
No, but the top names here, Tom Bonham will have assessed the strength of the riders joining him, at least in reputation, and decide whether it's worth to keep the pace up. There's a little group of about 15-20 riders here.
Radio Shack been caught out, BMC caught out. They're going to have to get themselves organised at the front end there to try and pull it back. There's Ivanov sitting at the back end of that group in the white jersey.
Don't look too pleasant, this stretch of cobblestones, as they come off that bend, but it's smoothed out pretty quickly. We should be seeing the leaders very shortly now, inside a minute, on these Flanders flat farm fields here. There's the S-bend, lovely, lovely racing, and with the constant changing of direction of wind as well, it makes hard racing. But looking at the leafless trees, they're also a bit lifeless, so I'm not sure there is any wind today.
Definitely not springtime yet in Belgium and the Flanders. This is very much the end of winter, very cold.
Change, it looks as though Guédon slipped to number 3 wheel.
This is the Wolvenberg. A small climb, but it's very steep at 17.3%.
Horrible little climbs, to be quite honest, these. You've got to really work on them, but they are a cyclist's paradise.
Well, the Kop van de Weegstrijd, the front end of the bike race, still these 3 riders who've been away since the 10th kilometre of the race. Guédon over on the left-hand side, 2 great classic victories to his credit, Paris-Roubaix and of course Paris-Tours. And Corver's struggling a little bit at the back there for Team Skill Shimano. He's just trying to keep that big body of his going up once they go over the top of this climb. It's a short climb at around about 700 metres, but when you've been in the saddle for 150 kilometres, it starts to hurt quite a bit.
Well, I think those 3 guys are still riding pretty well considering how long they've been out front and the time of the year. But it's down to 55 seconds, cost them a couple of seconds on the climb. This little group still working away with Gilbert now stepping on the gas. Hausler, anxious to test his knee. You see he's got the old strip bandage on the knee there. Hold it back in position. As somebody coming across there from Rabobank and from HTC.
Well, Hausler's got a fine pair of legs. Yes, he is. Struggling to get back from that knee injury that's dogged him since the end of the last season. And you can see that's a great shot looking at how far back and what kind of damage has been done by this small climb.
I was just thinking the same myself when you said it. It was a lovely shot, that. Make a nice jigsaw puzzle. But I think it's more a test day for Heinrich here. Anxious to see where he exactly is with his form and his injury. Giving his knee a good test. And the other boys not allowing him out of their sight. In fact, this group is reforming.
Well, it's a scramble more than anything else to try and consolidate that leading group. But it is having a serious effect on the riders at the back. The weaker elements in this main field now are starting to wonder which is the shortcut back to Ghent. You can see the Vlaams Zulu, the Lion of Flanders flags there over on the right-hand side. There is a little bit of a tailwind on this climb.
The race starting and finishing in Ghent, but for some reason we hardly ever use its real title, which is Ghent. Always the sponsor gets the prime position. Was Het Volk, now it's Het Nieuwsblad, who bought Het Volk. That's the way to get your sponsorship sorted. 43 kilometres to go. Still plenty of time. Slightly less than 1 hour of racing, I would suspect, at the moment. And again, former champion of Belgium pushing on.
Yeah, Jurgen Roelands again. This is a long section of cobblestones here. It's 2.4 kilometres in length, coming straight across the gap there, Heinrich Hausler. So close to winning Milan-San Remo last year when he came in second to Mark Cavendish. He had a great season after that. He won himself a stage in the Tour de France, and now he's looking to try and get himself written onto the history books of Het Nieuwsblad. The amazing thing is, Phil, when you talk to most of the Belgians, they still call this race Het Volk. They can't get that long history of the named race Het Volk out of their minds.
It's a very interesting bike race. Netherlands and Ireland. And of course, Ireland, it was not Sean Kelly, it was the great Shea Elliott, who sadly died some time ago now, but he won back in 1959. And that was the first time this race was ever won by a foreign cyclist other than Belgium.
Stigmas daar. Boon. Juan. Pichato daar. Flecha. Hier gaat hij daar. Nee, sorry. Posten. Ik ooit daar. Waar ben je?
The feeding man had to stand on the road and pass it to his rider on the footpath there. And so they switched back again now.
It's a serious move this by Lars Boom. He's not holding anything back at all. He can't be too far away from seeing that leading group of 3 riders. And he's basically provoking the riders in that group to maybe come forward and see whether or not they can actually split the group.
Well, they'll treat Lars Boom with a serious intent here, though he's not been at the top of road cycling for very long. They do know his ability. So they're going to...
Benatti, ja, ik dacht het. Matthias, Peppu.
Can stop chattering just for the moment. Things drop off your bike on those cobblestones you didn't even know you had on it.
The roads of Belgium and northern France can destroy any kind of machinery, and it's a good test bed for a lot of the companies to come and try out new equipment. And I would expect a little later on in the year Lance Armstrong will be racing on these roads, because the Tour de France starting in Rotterdam this year will curse...
all over the place. Ah, look at this now. He's gone to the front now.
Ivanov, Russian national champion, looking over his shoulders, is seeing whether or not he always seems to have the knack to catch these riders at the moment when they're looking to...
Ja. Daar nog. Knaap. De volder is.
To have a little bit of respite, and that's the ideal time to attack, and he's pulled away a group of 7.
That's going to cause a reaction, and it has, as a group of 4 tried to cross very quickly. Looks like Quick Step leading the charge. It looks like another Katusha rider actually who's leading the charge. That's a good move. His own teammate chasing him down.
And it looked like Stegmans was in there as well there for Team Radio Shack. They want to get themselves a little bit of success if they can, Radio Shack. They've built a team now, not just for the Tour de France. They've built a team that is capable of racing in the one-day classics.
Still clear. Making a meal of it, and that looked like Gilbert, was it?
Yep.
Yes.
That was Philippe Gilbert. I don't know what happened there. Number
Was
41.
it a bike change or a wheel change? Camera cut him back rather quickly.
Well, he's up and running, but he's in a group a little bit further back. He was
That's
in
a
that
shame.
leading group of contenders, chasing the three-man breakaway. Well, I got a chance to see what happened
here. Did he
here.
fall off or did he puncture? I reckon he might have fallen off.
Oh, he
did fall
on the
off,
right-hand
yes.
side. Well, I don't know how that happened at all.
No.
He was going in a straight line. It must have just been one of those little divisions in the road in Belgium. The Belgian roads, especially the ones made out of cement, can be very, very precarious. He got up quite quickly, didn't he?
He did. So he actually got back into the group he was with.
No, this is the...
Come on,
Any damage, and the answer is not too much. He might have tired a few people out, but they're still all riding behind him. And Ivanov's been joined by everybody else in that leading group.
You see, in the early part of the season, a lot of these riders are on pretty much the same level of fitness. They haven't managed to get into the area of the season when they have these peaks and troughs. Everybody's on the same level with the same amount of training in their legs.
Another time for an attack here now. Quick Step launching a move. Just starting to stretch the legs again. If they keep on this pressure, it's got...
Come on,
And Peter Gim, and of course of Robbie McEwen.
Rossler still at the front. They've worked very hard, the pair from Omega, with Gilbert. But Gilbert, I'm not sure where he is now. He might be at the back of this group.
Well,
what's happened here?
There's a problem for Rabobank over on the right.
A little bit of a problem with the camera in the middle too. I think our cameraman just took to the local lake. Postuma.
Right.
8 kilometers to go, 23 seconds. On the next long open stretch of road, the main field will finally see these three riders for the first time since the 10th kilometer of the race.
166 kilometers in the lead now. That's just over 100 miles they've headed up this race today.
Is dat Rosler? Een van dingen van de radio check.
Sky, is dat Rosler? Nee. Gaan we niet zien, Rosler.
Behind Ayu, is the groups going to come all back together?
Yes, I don't think it's TJ Van. I'm not sure it's not Martin Velits actually. One of the twins.
Well, there's a Longines shape of Martin Velits there.
Yeah.
You can see that nobody wants to chase him right now. I think everybody's starting to feel the hammer coming down on them, and they know there's still a couple more climbs, a couple more precarious climbs a little bit further up the road.
That's just so you can see his handlebars are the same width as his chest, and they are. So he's got the right bike today. 20 seconds is the gap. They're bringing it back now. It's all going to happen before we get to the climb of the Muur de Grammont, or the Muur de Gerardsbergen, which is the town rather than the region. 20 seconds the gap holding. 3, 6, and the rest. All back together. But it's getting smaller. Every time they repair the damage, some riders don't come back with them.
And every now and again, the 3 or 4 riders scrambling across the gap, taking the opportunity to jump away from a group further back down the road to try and stay in contention for this race, Het Nieuwsblad. There is the lone man from HTC Columbia trying to get himself off the front end of the main field, but he's still looking to make the junction with the 3 leaders at 20 seconds.
Good tempo riding causing the split as they continue to push on here. We're now going to find out exactly who it is. It's Marcel Steyberg.
Ja, hij daalt er nog op.
They've only been in being 2.5 years, and they've been the world's #1 team throughout that time. They seem to be able to win with every rider on their squad.
This is the Molenberg, 14.2%, and there's a nice little move coming here by Curvers from Skill Shimano.
Yes.
And look how slippery it is.
Well, it's a bit greasy in the woods. down in the woods today as Guédon grits his teeth and drags himself back across the gap here. The maturing Frenchman, great competitor.
Die zijn niet, hè? Dat zijn die twee nog altijd, hè? Zo mooi dat, hè? Guédon.
And there's the race for the corner. Everybody's sandwiches around. The boys on the inside just about still moving. The guys at the back get on.
And who likes a cobble climb?
There we go. And look how slimy it is. We've had a bit of rain here while the race has been held. And now Tom Bonen is driving, but he's got a few rivals with him now.
Steek! Wat zat er? Alsjeblieft, man. Gaat er niet! Ik heb die! Dat ben ik niet! Dat is nog rustig, hè? That's the one more.
Just at the bottom of the climb, where while we go back to the three leaders, Curve made a very nice move there. Kop van de Wegstrijd, the top end of the bike race. Guédon closing the sandwich in at the back end there, but just looking a little bit further down the road there, you can start to see the front end of this race.
Marcel Seeberg may have started something here that might develop as Tom Bonen has used the springboard of the Molenberg, bringing with him 4 more riders. They're a tenacious lot today, I have to say, because they've all got them in their gun sights again.
Another move going off the front. Bonen has been very attentive and he's tried on a number of occasions to break the stranglehold. But
Stap? Ja, dat stap. Stapje. Ja, stapje. Ja.
Hammer down now. If they get themselves organised, they could create a good gap.
Well, Bonen's ridden a good race today. He's tried a couple of moves. They haven't worked. He's hurt a lot of people, maybe even himself. Hausler's paying attention, always in the mix as well. So to Jurgen Roelants. Bit of a surprise winner in the Belgian Championship a couple of years ago, but nonetheless proving it.
Zak zo. Je zit er gewoon met alle twee de grond. Dat was ook ready. Maar dan hier. Het is kapot. Het is nog nooit niet van gehoord.
To the top.
Right, okay. Did they distill oil? I'm not sure.
Well, it's a still.
It'll be fine oil, though.
Yeah, yes, but it's what the still is the process.
Oh, is it?
Because it separates the different hydrocarbons.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Tune in to World Cycling Productions and learn about oil. That's great, that. Right, now we don't know, in fact, if Philippe Gilbert got back, do we?
I would suggest that he probably did, because that was a very large group that he was involved in, and I think he may well have just been able to do it on the Molenberg.
And this is his teammate, Jurgen Roelants.
Jongens, willen we de pinon nog zien, dan zijn we weg, hè? Ik moet de pilo hebben, ik moet zakken. Willen we de pinon nog zien, moeten we maken, dan we weg zijn. Kom er nog af, zeg. Zijn er nog zo? Kom er nog af. Zijn er nog. Laat ze voorbij gereden, ja. Hier dus. Utarovic. Ja, we staan op het
Benatti! Benatti!
Benatti.
Hey jongens!
Hij zal de Ronde van Vlaanderen niet winnen van de jaar.
In Kirchen!
Dat is Weiland trein 40. Oei, nee. Elijzen.
There still is a very large main field.
And we can see them because there's no leaves on the trees just now. So good luck to the helicopter. And my goodness, a walk across those fields would create a lot of mud on your shoes, wouldn't it?
You certainly would want to have your hunter's Wellington boots on, wouldn't you? This is Flecha now. He's making a little move. They daren't let a man like him go off the front. And Matty Breschel has noticed that, and he comes straight across the gap for Saxo Bank.
Saxo Bank looking for a new sponsor. If you have a few shillings or even dollars, then perhaps you might think of picking up the tab after this year, because sadly Saxo Bank have announced their withdrawal from the sport. It's a very, very good team.
Sylvain Chavanel is the rider up to the front for a quick step. He'll be looking after the interests.
Ja, nog veel werk af te leggen, in een mond uit. Binnen de mond. Binnen de mond is niet. De meikemolen naar
Actually forgotten that these three men have still survived.
Only just. There's Rowlands coming through in the background.
This is the Paderstraat, 2.3 kilometres, a very long section of cobblestones. It's going to cause mayhem in the main field behind, because I reckon you'll have men like Philippe Gilbert and Tom Bonham will be really hitting this section of cobblestones hard.
Jürgen Rowlands, really, apart from his national title, which he picked up in 2008, he hasn't really won too much since then. He didn't get a win at all last year. He did win a stage of Tour of Poland, but that's bad luck.
Well, he seems to think that he's got
hit that hole too,
yeah.
Flat tyre.
Yeah, he seems to think that one of his team mechanics might be close by here, and he was just looking to see if anybody's got a wheel. The problem when you're in a situation like this is the team car's way, way behind him. That's bad luck for Bram Tankink.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do. He's not allowed to take a wheel off a member of the public, which he'd like to do.
Just actually getting a shot off the back a fraction.
Always rely on Jaws to be in the action. This is Nick Noyens, number 64. Now, he's recovered and must have got back from that flat tyre he had, and he's still dodging through the people. I'm not sure whether he's still coming through here.
No, he's just gone past Steve Scheinel, and in fact that was Verkelen going backwards, and one of the riders was in the breakaway. So you can see that Nick Noyens now is making the move to the front end of this race. Guédon is starting to put a bit of pressure on everybody here. Curvers can't stay on the wheel, but on the wheel there is Rowlands. He's come across the gap, and this, I think, is the fourth rider on the road, Nick Noyens.
Well, if Nick gets up there, he's had a second.
Guédon not looking over his shoulder at all. He really put the hammer down, the Frenchman here at 38 years of age, looking back to see what damage has been done. Ascertaining the situation, wondering whether or not he should sit up and wait for those riders. I would suggest he sits up and waits for Nick Noyens, because Noyens looks to me to have a very good set of legs on him today.
A little bunch reforming behind here now. It'd be a good idea to get all these motorbikes out of the way, because they're forming gaps. They think they're witnessing the winning move of the race, judging by the photographer's action there, but you get a vacuum form there, so the guys and
Bonan's got a problem.
In trouble. It's
sure
a black wheel puncture.
Yep.
Do it yourself.
And that's
you
again
all
the
that
wrong
money,
time.
You've still got to change your own wheel.
Yeah, that's the wrong time to have a flat tyre as well for Bonan, and he's going to have a hard chase to get himself back into this event.
Oh, he's not the only one getting in trouble when he gets back on his bike, putting his feet in. I thought that was only something that happened to me and you.
There's the
teammate trying to push him on.
Yeah.
Group here, big effort by Kevin required. Tom seemed to be on a good day today.
You might have just noticed your mate Martin Velits there as well. He's wearing the national champions jersey.
It wouldn't be far away. He's just making me look good again. Well done, Martin.
This is Flecha.
I used to know them very well, the Velits twins, because they used to race for Konica Minolta, a small team in South Africa, and that's where they were suddenly discovered, and they learnt their English in South Africa as well. Interesting, talented twins.
This is a serious little move starting to go here. Rowlands again has seemed to have found his second wind. In second place there is Juan Antonio Flecha. In the group as well, just on the back, is Philippe Gilbert. And I'm wondering if Guédon has survived. Yes, he is.
He's
Guédon
amazing.
is on the back end of the bus.
He's absolutely amazing. And now he must be wondering, what on earth am I doing here? This train is really moving. Only 25 to go. And he's still not in the peloton. Attacking riding. We've got a lot of interest in the peloton this year with the new teams as well, like Radio Shack and Sky. And that is Nick Noyens, and he's got a back wheel. Well, that's a shame because he worked so hard. Not been his day. It's his second back wheel puncture that we know of. Philosophical about it by the look of it. At least he was in the right place when it happened, so he's made his move for the day, I think.
The tough thing about being in a break...
Nothing he can do. He's going to have to let this group go by him as well and hope that there are some service just behind.
Well, you can see now Team Cervelo test team coming to the front. They're the team that missed out. They were very attentive early on, and Heinrich Hauser, I think, will be kicking himself because he'd been in almost every split that had happened so far. And now he's seen a group going off the front end of the main field. I'm looking to see if Tom Bonen has managed to get into that group. If he has, he's probably still sitting at the back.
All that training, all that attacking, and you still can't beat the puncture. And he's really struggling to hold that bike. He can't go around corners on it just now.
Well, this is the tough thing about these kind of races in Belgium. When the race starts to split up, the team cars could be a long, long way behind, and he's still waiting. There'll be another group behind, and I expect that will be the group of Tom Bonen. So that means that the Belgian champion hasn't got himself back into this race yet.
No, he hasn't. I don't see him there. That's another group. That's really bad luck. But as you say, Paul, there's Tom. There are neutral services. He can't even get round the corner at all now. He's just keeping his balance. There's neutral service on motorbikes, and I don't see any of them. Plenty of other motorbikes.
Well, there's Bonen, still trying to drag himself back into this race.
How luck changes.
Martin Velits is in there as well. He's... The
acceleration of Tom here is just ripped off the front of the peloton as he just crosses the gap to that next group. There's the peloton, he says, and that's what I'm duty-bound to reach.
Yeah, but once he's reached that group, he's still got to leapfrog again a little bit further forward because there's another main group in front of that one, while the leading group now is starting to consolidate a fairly big advantage at 25 seconds.
He's found a teammate again.
Found a friend at the side of the road.
And he gets the team change.
Thomas Laser passing the wheel across there, but that's going to be a blow to Nick Noyens' morale because he was in to Nick Noyens, Gilbert and Rollens, Guédon still in here as well as Flecha, and Curvis on a bit of a ride himself this afternoon for Skill Shimano.
He certainly is. He's looking tired, but he's in there. So too is, and has a right to look tired, Frédéric Guédon. Nobody can complain if they can't put the work rate in right now, but look at Curvis. He's got
25 kilometres, 25 minutes to go to the finish line.
There's an attack going.
Looks like it's Philippe Gilbert. This is the way he's won Het Volk in the past. He's attacked all the cobblestones, he's thrown everything at them, and that acceleration now is just a little bit too much for Curver, a little bit too much for Frédéric Guédon. Now that's not too much of a surprise, and they won't get any help from Jürgen Rollens because, well, there we go, he's decided to go himself because he realises these two guys are spent forces.
Yeah, get across the gap there. Flecha, by the way, is the best ever Spanish cyclist in this event. He finished second back in 2007, and he's chasing now the winner a couple of times.
Fletcher's gone.
Huge effort. How did that happen?
He just accelerated. He looked at the motorbike in front of him. He accelerated on the cobblestones, and he's put Philippe Gilbert into a spot of bother here.
Well, I don't think Gilbert will be too happy about the proximity of the motorbike, but he's gone now, and the gap has opened. Gilbert is having to go. This is when he might be paying now for the chase-back efforts of the earlier problems he's had. And there is quite a strong wind blowing now, seeing the flag on the right, and it's coming across the course just now.
28 seconds back to the main group, but it's around about 3 or 4 seconds to Philippe Gilbert. Now Fletcher now cannot think about doing anything else but really burying himself. He's got to give it 110% now because this is a last-ditch do-or-die effort.
I seem to remember Gilbert when he won. The first time he won from a breakaway on his own 50 kilometres out. Now Fletcher's gone at just inside 20 kilometres to go. He sensed the breakaway was getting a little bit tired. They're not very far ahead of the peloton. It seems to be totally the
move originally, but then all of a sudden Juan Antonio Flecha of Spain went straight over the top of them and just dropped him like a stone.
There's no doubt he loves this race, Fletcher. He's had a second, he's had a third, and so the next logical step is first, I guess. Well, that's what he thinks. 16 kilometres to go. This has been a very good race route though today. It's a much harder race now, the new sponsorship.
Well, previously when it finished in Lokeren, the climbs were much too far from the finish to be of any real importance to the race. But now that they've been able to move it back to Ghent, it just makes it that little bit more aggressive in the middle part of the race. Well, in fact, Gilbert is not going anywhere. He's about to get caught here by his own teammate and by Frédéric Guédon. So that would indicate that Gilbert is not in one of his best days. The second group is now, they're saying, at 28 seconds.
You know, just looking at Flecha's record, he's had a 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 6th in Paris-Roubaix. He's been placed in the Tour of Flanders. That's why we say he's one of the few Spanish cyclists who can actually ride these bad roads of Belgium in an alien climate at this time of the year for a Spanish cyclist. But he speaks English. He's not your normal Spanish cyclist, really, is he? And he's got himself a top British team now where he seems to be very happy. And I know the team will be cheering today. And he's
been given permission to go forward by the race referees. 30 seconds to Gilbert. But that group there, Phil, does not seem to have the firepower. As we pull back, we get a chance to see the spread. There is Juan Antonio Flecha. It's pretty much flat now all the way down towards the finish line. Consolidate, and he stretched it out to 41 seconds. Cervelo test team now at the front end of the main field. Big Tor Hushoff, the god of thunder.
A big victory here for Sky.
Well, to add on to the victories that they got in the early part of the year in races like the Cancer Classic in Adelaide, this would be a...
Locked in, but he's not catching him. Oh, he's gone away by a second.
Well, that second might be all that counts at the end. He's almost always in sight now because we're coming to not far from the outskirts of Ghent. The roads are very wide and open, and the main field can see the 3 riders just in front of them, but they can also just about ascertain what the position is of Juan Antonio Flecha.
38 seconds, just showing group number 2. And the other boys are almost on. A final effort by Roger Hammond and the boys. Somebody's just pedalling off the front there. It's got to be curtains now for these 3. Or maybe just the strong men will reach them. 8 kilometres to go. We're ticking them off kilometre by kilometre. Looks like Quickstep, is it down there, trying to bridge? O'Vale, because now he's so tired he can't help the 3 leaders pull away. They're all looking at each other, and it's going to be coming back together. Then they're going to round out at 41 seconds. He's nibbled on a couple of more seconds at 7 kilometres to go now. Yep, that was the River Schelde I think we just crossed, as we're now heading in towards Ghent. And this is Hausler, and they've still got him in the sights. He's not going to get away, is he?
No, he's not getting across the gap at all there. There's a little move again at the front end from Quickstep. I think that's probably Sylvain Chavanel. We don't know where Tom Boonen is this afternoon. I have a feeling Boonen may well have crept himself back into that group. But it's been a tough day for a lot of the big names in the sport. Philippe Gilbert has been on the ground. He's had a flat tyre. Now the precarious part of Ghent now in the side streets, dodging the tram lines. 3 kilometres to go.
It's a vibrant city is Ghent. The best Belgian beer, the best French fries and the best tram lines. 38 seconds, 3 kilometres now. This is when you sort of will him on and want him to succeed. A man that took the gamble when he did. He sensed that breakaway wasn't going to be good enough. At 19 kilometres to go, did he want to go then, or did he just take his moment? Either way, it looks like Flecha is about to become the first Spanish winner of this race.
Well, taking risks, he's got to keep the tempo up. He's using all of the road possible. Well, we're on the nasty little cobblestones in the middle of Ghent now. Next banner he'll see is 2 kilometres, and then he may well just be able to breathe a sigh of relief. But that time, Phil, is now starting to come down quite quickly. It's down to 35 seconds.
Touch and go. With 3 kilometres, surely they can't bridge 35 seconds in such a short distance now. He's got to watch he doesn't get a flat tyre, especially on these cobblestones. They bang those tyres to pieces. They get what they call snake bites on the back of the rim. And
that is that.
Het is kotsen, want ze kotsen.
Nog 2 kilometer de laatste passage van Steen. Academici aan het afrijden en dan komt hij onder.
Allez, Flecha!
Zijn er al, hè? Wat is het, hè?
Ja.
Dat zie je dan weer, hè?
En dan zo naar de streep in Gent.
Hausler is dat.
Is van Barcelona.
Dat is dat niet.
Dat was net de mooiste aankomst misschien vorig jaar bij de Rotterdam.
Dat is Hoosler, ja. Hoosler. Allee, Hoosler! Boergaard. Hoster zit er ook in, ja. Hussoft lekker in, Hussoft.
En dan stekker op de...
Ja, Hussoft.
He's just about hanging in there. It's a brave attack by Heinrich, and I just can't understand why they're not coming out to take him so close to the finish, because they're preoccupied. There's no way they're going to catch him now. These little bridges here on the outskirts of Ghent by the railway station, he knows now he's virtually at the finishing line. He'll look for the 1K banner. There it is. Just 1,000 metres to the finish, and he really deserves this. Won in the true spirit of the old Het Volk race, on your own, just like Philippe Gilbert once did. That's going to be a wonderful sight, strung as high as you like. Hope they got planning permission for that.
I just think at the moment, Phil, that he's thrown the style book out of the window here, because he's all over his bike. He's ducking and diving. His body, the top half of his shoulders are rocking and rolling as if he's really trying to bury himself for this last moment. But now he's going to start to breathe a sigh of relief. He hasn't looked over his shoulders to check, but he's still looking on it around about a 25-second advantage over the front end of the main field. And he'll look round every one of these corners waiting to see the finish line banner.
I must say the organisers done a good job to get us round the back streets of Ghent here to avoid all of the tram lines as we head towards the finish. So after twice finishing second and once last year finishing third, it now looks like the top spot for Juan Antonio Flecha. And what a memorable win this is.
And he still will not stop getting out of the saddle, battling with machine. He is burying himself, as they say in Liverpool at the moment. He's all over that bike, but very shortly he will be able to smile and the pain will go away.
He's never looked round. Oh, now he does, just underneath his arm to make sure there's no wheels sneaking up on those barriers, and they're most certainly not today. Peter van Petegem looking out the window there behind. He's done this before, as he now comes home to victory, and that is a terrific win, not just for Juan Antonio Flecha, but for the Sky cycling team as well. They are very much on the block. He might well have signed their position. There's the arrow, he's the Flecha, there's the team. Now bring on the Tour de France.
Great ride by Juan Antonio Flecha. Now this looks like Heinrich Hausler. He's just about survived. In fact, he's not, because he's been overtaken there.
He has been overtaken. Are they going to get a 1-2? But where has Hausler found the legs from? The sprinter who finished second last year, Milan-San Remo. Oh, he's just going to beat Tyler Ferrar there, so he gets second there for Heinrich. Third was Ferrar. It looked like the Aqua Saponi rider must have been Paolini, and I think Marcel Seberg from HTC Killam. There's Dave Brailsford, the man behind the new Sky team. First on site to congratulate him, first big win, and he's pretty happy about that. I'm not surprised at all. As I said, there's
die we op geen enkele manier op de eerste rij hebben gezien. Allemaal zijn ze getekend en ook Roels komt hier nu puffend en blazend over de streep. Hij heeft mee de koers gemaakt. De man van de dag.
Dat was Humberdag. Hele boel. En Rosler? Rosler? Flecha. Stiek was dat. Barbie.
Man die naar de podium zou moeten gaan. Heinrich Hausler, you're sure you're second? Yeah, I mean, I think I was second. I'm not sure that I could be.
Ah, dat is heerlijk.
Terrific
victory. Can you first flash back to the final cobblestone sections? What happened there with Philippe Gilbert?
Well, thank you very much. What happened? Well, Gilbert attacked and was a little bit sidewind, and well, he attacked when I was already right in the front, but I wasn't riding full there, and I stayed in the width of Gilbert, and then from the car they say go. I mean, go now. Now is good moment. And since there, I didn't look back again till 100 meters to go here.
How big of a relief is this? You were so close so many times in so many classics.
Yeah, it's really emotional for me. As you say, I've been knocking on the door many times, and sometimes, like today, you show that just keep on trying, and one day it will come, and the victory came in a, I think, beautiful way.
The emotion is obvious, and of course, a very big win for your brand new team, Sky.
Yeah, I want to dedicate this victory to them, to the whole team, to Matthew Hyman. He gave his back wheel to me when I had a flat tire before the Eichenberg. And from the Scott and Stephen de Jong, they were in the car, incredible. But I want to give a little small part of this victory to Frank van den Broek. It's my first victory in Belgium, and today I remember him a lot. And I saw Nico Matan this morning, and I said that today I was going to be racing for Frank. So that's what I pointed to the Sky there. Sky is my team, but I'm sure Frank is there too. So thanks to everybody, and part of this victory is to him.
Thanks very much. Respect.